What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Card Advantage video. I'm joined by Sean. If you haven't, go back and watch our deck profile. I go through my tournament report and how I made it to top 8 in the Baltimore Calling with my Sandscour Great Bow list. I should say my teams, especially Sean's. He was the architect, as you can see in the original video. We all had a lot of good contributions. Shout out to Chad and Pierre and also all of our teammates for helping us test it because we swore off testing this list on Talishar after we realized it was probably cracked. During this video, we're going to go through a game with Lexi and then a game with Oldhim, two of the main contenders in this current meta. The Lexi matchup we feel pretty favored just because all of our effects are crazy versus them. And the Oldhim matchup, you'll see we really gummed them up with Dreadbore, things like Remorseless, Release the Tension, and Murkmire Grapnel. So you'll see how that goes later on. And then for this game, we're going into Lexi. My sideboard plan here, we're taking out three Ravenous Rabble. These cards are really just for Dromai. We take out Remembrance, which is just for Oldhim. And then we take out our 3 Battering Bolts. Lexi can have turns that function off a single Tunic counter or a single red or even a yellow sometimes. So Battering Bolt isn't always the most impactful. We take out 1 Murkmire. We always have 1 Murkmire in the main board just because it's a 0 for 5 and it can help with a push. And then we're taking out 2 Battering Bolt. I could see going up to 2 Battering Bolt in the deck versus Lexi instead of just 1, because Lexi does run things like Lightning Press, Rain Razors, and stuff like that. So this could be a forced block or force them to lose their Rain Razors from hand at a pivotal point. But we just have some other things that are a little bit more relevant versus them, so we take these out for now. And then lastly, we're putting in the 1 Battering, 1 Murkmire, and then 2 Immobilizing Shot. The rest of the stuff that you saw on the deck list earlier, there's like 3 red in the ledger, of course, and then a bunch of other arrows like Remorseless is nuts versus Lexi. I think I did 8 damage to a Lexi off of Remorseless at one point in the tournament. So these are all going to go up, and we're going to be running a slim 60 to make sure we're as consistent as possible.
All right, and you guys can see what I sideboarded out of the Pro Tour Baltimore 5th Maximilian Klein's Lexi. And you guys can roast me in the comments, I suppose, for what my choices are. But in particular, I am taking out the Codex of Inertias just because if I'm assuming Death Dealer Azalea, I don't think it's going to be as impactful. At most, I take 1 card, and more often than not, she's just going to see the Inertia Codex and say, okay, I'm just going to play out my whole hand anyways. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stay away from that. And yeah, I'm going to play a nice tight 60. And Jacob, I believe our consensus is that this matchup is Sandscour Great Bow always wants to go second. Mm-hmm. Because you want to be able to take tempo and run away with it. Yep. And you can often do like a pseudo Voltaire with a Quiver or something like that early. So I suppose to put you at the disadvantage, do you want to go second?
No, first, right?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah,
I will go first.
So we like to do testing where we try the harder version of the matchup. So we can't like get to the end of a tournament and just blame all our losses on dice rolls. If there's a matchup where we just lose always on going first versus second, then that's not really that great of a position to be in. So for testing, we'll go ahead and try going first.
All right, here's a Voltaire load and an Arsenal pass.
Remember that I'm going first, my guy.
Oh, my bad.
We'll just edit it out. It's okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Jacob. No, just keep it in. Past my bedtime.
So we will tick Tunic up to 1 here. We have an interesting opportunity to see an arrow off the top with Spire Sniping. If we don't see an arrow, we're probably just going to go ahead and bottom the Spire to get a buff and set up for next turn. But we don't want to keep all these buffs around. So we get to start with a Sandscour Great Bow check off the top. We see a Heat Seeker, which we are very interested in dominating because we have so many amazing buffs right now. So we are going to end up loading the Spire Sniping from hand. We can do a second check in case there's anything else interesting. And we're not super crazy about dominating the Spire instead of the Heat Seeker. So the Spire is going to stay on top. And then we're going to Azalea this. And there is some negative here, which is that you're going to get a free Voltaire look, but I'm going to get a Arsenal and a bunch of extra damage off of the Blood Rot. So we're going to go ahead and send this for 8 Dominate.
I'm going to be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, getting a Blood Rot, and then I'm going to Voltaire in this Sleep Dart.
Yeah. So if this Blood Rot was anything else, there's a chance that you actually try to set up a double Arsenal, but we like to force damage versus Lexi when we can get a chance like this early. If this wasn't forcing more damage, we get even more punished because they get the free Voltaire load. But I think I like the position this puts us in because we do at least start with 1 Arsenal card.
I mean, if this is an Inertia token, you're gaming, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. If this is an effect like Inertia, then there's not even a question about shooting it for sure. So Spire Sniping goes in. I'm going to go ahead and change this color to green to represent the aim counter that you get for free off of Heatseeker. Shout out Heatseeker, shout out Sandscour Greatbow. And then go to my next turn.
Okay. All right. Here's a Rain Razors. Here's a 3 Oak.
Oof, right off the bat. Don't love that for me.
I guess I can pay for my Blood Rot now.
Oh, does this deck not run Quiver of Rustling Leaves, by the way?
I didn't see it.
Interesting.
Let me check. It is not in the list whatsoever.
Okay, that's interesting.
So unless someone inputted it wrong, but yeah, no Quiver of Rustling Leaves.
We'll roll with it, I guess.
Sure. I'm gonna be loading in a Searing Shot with a nice go again here. Yeah, this is what's gonna happen. Searing Shot go again.
Okay.
And it's coming in for 6 go again.
All right, so a lot of the times versus aggro decks, we're going to be starting out at kind of a life disadvantage while we get up and running with our effects. Doubly so, there's a Sleep Dart sitting face up in Sean's arsenal right now that I would prefer to block over this. So we're okay with taking 7 damage here. We're going to take 6 to the Searing and then +1 to the effect.
Yep, and here is a Sleep Dart for 7.
Okay, so Sleep Dart for 7 comes in. We are not actually going to be profitably blocking this. We could give the Hornet Sting, but a really important note with Hornet Sting is in aggro matchups, you need that actual dig effect to come into play. So you don't want to waste your Hornet Sting early. We're going to be pretty, I think, okay here with just not using our hero ability on this turn. Lexi doesn't like blocking that much. So for now, we're actually just going to take 4 here. We just won't be able to use our hero ability.
All right, personal pass.
Okay. Tuna's going to go to 2. We get to start with a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, hold on. I trolled. No, I'll take 2. I'll take 2 on the Blood Rot. I'm gonna see how this goes.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a Great Bow Peak, check top. That is a way for us to get card advantage. We can dominate a Seek and Destroy, but sending the Murkmire for 8 is also very annoying, and it lets us set up a double arsenal. So I'm going to end up loading this off the top with an aim counter and Seek and Destroy and shooting it for 8 from the Murkmire effect. And this is a little bit of an opening, unfortunately. If Lexi has an insane turn, they're not really punished at all for just ripping 5 cards into me. But it does give me an opening where they're not going to have an arsenal next turn if they don't block this. And I'm going to have 2 arsenals. So I'm pretty happy with this current effect.
Yeah, a huge function of the deck is being able to create a ceiling on your opponent's turn to give you a more reliable, way to play. So
sounds good. I get to set up a double arsenal and pass to you.
Cool. Here's a Lexi flip Winter's Bite.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. What's gonna happen here is...
And you have Frosty Boy. I'll just say it's the Perch Grapplers.
Sounds good. You just give me a stalagmite. Sick.
Yeah.
So we have a Frostbite. We have to figure out how we're paying for the Winter's Bite. I almost never want to play around double Winter's Bite. It's kind of a blowout if they do have a double Winter's Bite, but I really want to get my red in the ledgers running, and I also want them to be relevant, and I'm on Tunic time next turn. Not that that really matters because I have a Frostbite, but we're going to take a bit of a risk and discard an immobilizing shot here.
Okay.
This also turns mobilizing shot on for later.
Here's CNC.
Yikers.
Yeah. Dang, I should have ran lightning press just for this. I can it says cause it.
Yeah, you can't lightning press CNC.
Boo boo.
If I want to block this,
relevant.
I have to give equipment. It's a little bit early to give equipment, and you're going into no cards. If I send a red in the ledger for 5 dominate, it is still unblockable because you have Snapdragons.
Yes, but I can still shoot 1 arrow at you and get a 2-card arsenal because of Voltaire.
It's true.
So maybe you should look for a different effect.
The only issue here is I have a non-block in hand and a 2-block. So
wait, why can't because of CNC, duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, CNC is pretty good here on my double arsenal.
Ooh, and why don't you get an immobilizing? Why don't you seek the immobilizing? Like, why don't you block here? Giving what's an arsenal here? Remorseless. Like, why don't you block here and then get to seek? No, because you wouldn't possibly be able to get
a Frostbite. I wouldn't be able to seek it.
Dude, I wrecked you here.
Yeah, this is a pretty good moment.
Just shoot the remorseless.
I think that's probably the right answer. So if I give it like this, yeah, I think this is probably fine. Just because of CNC being so strong, we have to ignore a little bit the Hornet Sting effect. Maybe it shows us an arrow on top, but yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. There's a Memorial Ground on top that's going to get bottomed, and we will take 0.
Yeah, that's tough.
We have Tunic on 3, and yeah, we're just going to shoot the Remorseless, paying 2. It's a bit unfortunate, but you don't have an arsenal to punish me on a non-disruption turn, so we're kind of struggling. We haven't knocked or casted a red in the ledger yet, which is really what we want to be doing. But you can't CNC me that many times, so your 4-card hand shouldn't do that much to me, and I might be able to steal momentum with my next 4 cards.
All right. You're only going into a 5-card hand, though? Okay.
Right.
Take 5. Yeah, because I saw you block with a knock, and I've seen 2 memorials just now. So
yeah, you might be able to punish me pretty hard here, taking some momentum like this.
Here's a Winter's Bite.
I am going to use my Tunic counter for this. I could pitch a card, but that card can instead be pitched on my next turn, and my Tunic can start ticking up 1 turn earlier.
Sure. Here's a Voltaire load of Heat Seeker with Go again.
You have none floating right now, is that true?
None floating. Oh, I'm on Tunic time, though.
Oh, Tunic, okay.
Yep.
So I have to consider the chance that your last arrow is at best a 0 cost, and none of your 0 cost arrows have effects I care about. Drill Shot is like slightly relevant, but I can still have a turn. If you drill shot me, I just lose 1 value on my equipment. So I kind of like blocking this and keeping you off of your value. And I'm going to be able to have some value on my turn. I do think there is a red drill shot here, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and block this. You used 2 cards for my 2 cards, and I'm going to be setting up a big arsenal next turn, so we're pretty happy with that, I think.
I'll use Tunic to Voltaire load.
Ooh.
Endless with, yeah, when you said there's no 0 cost arrow I care about, I'm like,
I trolled.
Sure about that?
I did troll a little bit here.
Here, I'm going to say, I think Go again. I mean, it would force me to use Bracers, So I'm gonna say you have this anyways, so it's like either you give me armor or if you give me tunic, I'm pretty happy with that. Um, I'm just gonna say go again, so I wouldn't have to like burn snaps or whatever. So go again 4.
I don't love it, but we're going to do this. I can't let you get so much card advantage. We can't go too low before we get our engine rolling, and our engine is pretty slow to start right now. I would like to ignore it and just take a bunch of damage, but I don't think that is safe currently.
All you have to do is catch me once.
Yep, exactly. I just have to block up and get my disruption into graveyard one single time, like you said, and we're kind of rolling from there. This Codex of Frailty is going to help me set up a 6-card hand, and I will be targeting a drill shot because it's the only 0 cost in my graveyard that matters. We can't get aim counters on graveyard stuff from Codex of Frailty, so drill shot is just what's relevant here. And then you get to pick something as well.
Oh, so true.
Sometimes forcing your opponent into picking an arrow is a curse more than a blessing, but it depends on what your turn looks like. In this case, it might be a blessing, but I'm also plussing a card off of it, so I don't really care that much.
I'm gonna grab a Heat Seeker, and I'm going to discard a...
Oh, I trolled. I'm gonna do a little bit of a take back and start my turn with a Blind Azalea. I forgot I had access to that, and this turn just got a lot more insane. A big part of this deck is Blind Azaleaing pretty often, so I did want to do that take back for the video. Show you guys that it is relevant to find buffs on turns like this, and then I do send the Codex of Frailty here.
Really missing that Falcon wig right about now. Alright, yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to discard this.
Okay. Yeah, so we're coming in here for 7 with an inertia and -1 counter on hit.
Alright, I'm going to take 4.
Okay. I'll send an inertia and then ponder an Arsenal pass.
Alright, tunic. Lexi flip.
Okay.
Searing shot, go again, coming in for 3 and an extra damage.
I will take 4.
Heat Seeker for 4.
We're gonna take 4.
Alright, I'll get my Heat Seeker flip and pass.
Yep. That's funny. Heat Seeker's pretty good to play around inertia here, for sure.
Yep.
Sorry. I'll send Tunic to 2. We are going to... We can get a immobilizing shot and end my turn with a card in Arsenal. Or we can just get a red and ledger to start rolling. I think I'm okay with not casting the Lace with Bloodrot here. Well, no, I have a Fletch, so we're kind of gaming. We're going to do this, this, and this, and then we're going to knock a red and ledger off the top.
Are you on Tunic time? Or
I'm not, unfortunately. This would be much sicker if we were. So we just load this off the top without dominating it. But this is kind of an obscene amount of damage that's not really blockable because of the Fletch Red.
Okay.
So it's 14.
So for those of you guys who couldn't catch it, Jacob knocked the red in the ledger on top, and then Great Bow loaded it in.
Yeah.
Got the aim counter. Very, very strong use of knock, and you can do the same with Memorial Ground. Yeah, Great Bow really lets you pick your shots.
Yeah,
it's quite great.
Yeah, if I wanted to dominate this, I would have had to do it without casting the Lace with Bloodrot. I think ultimately that's probably also fine. I get to force damage through, but I like doing this on Fletcher Red turns because they're not really able to block that much anyways.
Yeah, like I can block 6, and I'm taking how much?
Let's see. This is 14, so you're gonna take 8 and get a Bloodrot.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate because I don't really have any better plays here.
Right.
Like I could block 2 more, but I'd rather just take a card out of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna take 8.
Okay.
Because I know if I can take a card out of your hand and you have a mid turn, then I can just win on 3 oak because I'll be on my 3rd tunic counter by the next turn cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a winner's bite, and I'll take 2.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and pitch I to the winter's bite. I have 1 arrow in hand, and I'd prefer to just know what's coming up next first instead of going into my turn without. This might be trolling. I'm gonna pitch the release the tension instead. I inspire sniping with the buff is much stronger value proposition here. Tunic to 3. All right, we're actually gonna pitch I to Great Bow. We're gonna opt to resolve first.
All right, I'm so mad.
Yeah, this is very good. Memorial Ground is gonna stay on the top. Red and Ledger is gonna stay on the top. We're gonna load Spire from hand. We already know what's up there. And then we're gonna Azalea dominate the red in the ledger. If you wanted to block 5, you'd have to give the New Horizon, and are just gonna lace with inertia as well. So,
dude, I'm so mad about Iva. Wait, you had a Spire though? Okay,
yeah.
All right, I'm not that mad. I'm not that mad.
Yeah, this was a pretty good lined up turn here. This is 8 dominate.
Yeah, see how Jacob, you made the right decision to go for red in the ledger because A, you knew it was going to leak a ton of damage, and B, you just win the game if you get into a second red in the ledger or even an immobilizing shot, right? With this life deficit here.
Yeah, like we knew we still had Nox and Mem Grounds in the deck as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely huge here. And I don't really have any plays here. Giving New Horizon makes no sense. A, because I have 3 of a kind, and B, because I couldn't possibly block all of this. So I do have at least a little bit of a play. I'm going to take 4.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this was an all-red hand, but I don't think it's unwinnable. There's no blood red on that, right? Okay.
Correct.
Oh, you inertiated me.
I did inertia. Yeah, it's pretty like inertia and red in the ledger is a absolutely disgusting thing to do to someone.
Here's a Voltaire +1 sedation shot.
Okay. We are pretty much taking this, I think, all day.
Yep. And then I'll put a 3 oak on the bottom. I guess that happens before this, so. Well, if only, in 10 turns I will absolutely be annihilating you, sir.
3 oak, endless arrow pitch stack.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna start our turn with read the glide path. We see an arrow on top. The arrow off the top doesn't really matter here because I'm inertia, and I should have taken that into account and just saved 3 life on the block because my turn had opt in it already. I think we can just bottom this. I'd rather draw into like a buff or a search effect next turn, and then we're gonna Great Bow here. That's fine to be on top. We're going to load the Spire Sniping from hand. Peeking here is... wow. So we see a red in the ledger off the top, but this is a pivotable... I always mess up that word. This is a pivotal decision, which is that I have the opportunity to dominate the red in the ledger, but I also have a Memorial Ground in hand. And while you may think it's better to not waste the Memorial Ground and just dominate the red off the top, the case is that I already have 2 reds in my graveyard and I have 1 knock left in the deck. So I do want this red to stay in my deck so that I can search it off knock later. So I'm going to put these back on top, and I'm just going to Memorial Ground the red in the ledger for my graveyard since I'm getting inertia anyways.
Jacob. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I would suppose that if you were not inertia, you would go off of top.
If I wasn't inertia, I'm 100% going off the top for sure. So we're going to Memorial Ground this, the Spire Sniping that was in my graveyard, or my arsenal gets to the bottom, and this is going to be for 7 dominate.
Dude, I'm so mad. And one of the challenging things about this matchup now for these other decks is they have to tech a little bit for Death Dealer Azalea. Now, frankly, I could be trolling by playing Frailty Trap into Azalea. I think I probably am. I think Tar Pit Trap is what I'm playing here, and I'm playing more Falcon Wings. So that aside, the point still stands, which is decks have to account now for this list and the Death Dealer list, and that's gonna give you an advantage in some scenarios. Obviously, I think Frailty Trap would never come in, but if this was a Tar Pit Trap, no difference, right? It's just a dead Tar Pit Trap.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you that, and then that's it.
So you're gonna take 4 here, and I will pass.
Cool. Here is a Voltaire plus Reno.
Mm-hmm.
Voltaire plus Reno. 5.
Okay. I could find an arrow off the top, which would make me saving extra cards in hand redundant. So I think I'll play to that and save my life buffer. If I miss a turn of disruption later, I really don't want to be low. So I'm going to take 2 here. You probably put the -1 counter on Tunic, right? From Drill?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to force me to New Horizon block before I Tunic block, if at all.
Yep.
I'm going to pitch Blue Bolton to Great Bow here. That's fine. There's a buff on top. We'll load the red in the ledger.
You drew into that? No, you didn't shuffle, right? Yeah, you didn't shuffle.
Okay, no, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one that I saw on top. Yeah,
you're good. You're good. You're good.
And then you have 1 arsenal. In order to enact your turn, you have to block my red in the ledger for 5. You go to a 3-card hand. I know you won 3 of a kind went to the bottom because it was face up in arsenal, and I don't think I know the status of the other 3 of a kind. So I kind of don't want to let you have an inch of breathing room in case you do have a 3 oak in hand right now, and I'm just going to send 9. This doesn't have an aim counter notably, so the Fletch effect isn't active.
You have no cards in hand after this?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, I have to risk it at this point. I'm gonna set up because you have to draw into Memorial, and I don't think you shuffled since you pitched 2 Memorials and you played 1. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
I'm gonna pitch Deadeye to Great Bow. My 1 arrow in hand is Spire Sniping, so it's fine if we don't see an arrow off the top. We'll load the Spire, check 2, and we are a little bit unfortunate here.
Dang, I'm still at 4 life though.
You are indeed at 4 life. So I think we're happy with leaving these on the top. And then we're going to pump this. Let's see, this puts it to 6. We need to just force blocks here. So we're going to go to 9.
This is all. I'll give you Tunic. That's fine. Here's
okay.
9.
We'll pass back.
Dude, Ponders are counterintuitive. They make block with New Horizon harder.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
Hand is pretty good. This doesn't kill us, so we're gonna take 7.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leak damage while I can. There's 2 more.
Interesting.
We'll yeah, I mean, because I'm gonna ponder draw, right? So I'm like,
oh, that's true. That is true.
And I may even yet have the block New Horizons.
We're gonna start with a read the glide path. Nice. We're going to pitch this to load this sedation shot off the top. It gets an aim counter. We're gonna use our other Memorial Ground.
Oh, bad, dude.
And we also have a pre-med. So
did we pitch cycle to that already?
I don't think so.
Did they just shuffle together?
I haven't shuffled much, but yeah, it's weird.
Right,
this is a, let's see, this is going to be for 10. So if you just Arsenal to D-React, which I saw you're playing this game, the most you could block is 8, which would leave you to 2.
You just get Remorseless all day.
So yeah, I just get Remorseless. It's pretty much guaranteed lethal. So Remorseless goes to the top. We dominate it with an aim counter and send it for 10.
You got me, folks. Yeah, I think if you don't dominate there, I have a pretty good shot
Yeah.
here because I'm then playing a. I'm then like even if I have to block with this pre-med, I'm then playing Heat Seeker into Arctic,
Yeah, that
and
would have been
then
pretty devastating, actually.
yeah, that gets pretty good.
Yeah.
GG's. That was actually way closer than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, so I want to call out a little bit of this game. I think I was misstepping because there were a few turns where it felt like I maybe should have arsenaled a card instead of sending everything out. I was worried towards the end about giving you breathing room because of my life total getting a little bit low. It was also a little bit sus to give equipment so earlier in the game, but it felt necessary at the time. Um, but yeah, even with us not finding our red in ledger super early, we're still able to get there. Like Sean said, it might be a little bit
I
weird to
think you
bring
should
the
have
frailty
grabbed.
trap, but
You should have grabbed a mobilizing on the turn
hmm,
where I had a face up 3 oak.
hmm,
Because you could have saved a buff in Arsenal and you just kind of emptied your hand. And
yeah,
you were guaranteed to hit the inertia anyways.
that's
So you
true.
just wanted a buff. And I think you came in kind of soft the next turn.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Um, yeah, so your zero cost arrows do enable you to save cards a lot of the time. It's the same idea as Tunic. If your turn only requires one resource, like off of Great Bow, then you should just block 3 extra and get the extra value off Tunic like that instead of it just being like one value. It's worth 3 or more there. So same with a mobilizing shot. Sending a zero cost arrow means that you have to pitch way less, and you can get some more value by arsenaling a card there. Um, and then yeah, I didn't get to blind Azalea very much because I wasn't rolling arsenals as often. That one take back I did on a turn, that was just very clearly wrong to not Azalea there. I'm never just sending the Spire, and I don't really care about letting it sit there. So you got to watch for opportunities where there's a random card in your arsenal to Azalea into, because hitting a buff like I did there was actually very, very relevant to this game. So that's another good call out I wanted to make. But yeah, a lot of the Lexies I played against, I don't remember if they were running Frailty Trap versus me. One of them was actually on Sync Belows, which is interesting. And then yeah, there's quite a few different builds of Lexi floating around, but all of them follow the similar tenet of you gotta take a turn to take some damage. Like you saw me taking searing shots to the face like multiple times. And there were even a couple points where I took heat seekers to the face because either the ponder didn't matter because I was red in the ledgering or I was inertiaing. So, whereas some control decks are really blocking up really heavily, this type of control deck is controlling through offense, and you really use your life total as a resource in this point, or in this type of deck that we've got together here. So keep that in mind. You really don't. If you find yourself just blocking constantly in a game, I think you might be doing something wrong. But there's also the chance that your opponent's just rolling insane disruption back to back, and you can't help it. But that's very important to note as well. Did you have any other notes, Sean, from this game?
No, I think you covered it well. I think that trying to balance your offense a little bit more next time we play this, I think would be good. But overall, like sick plays, like the knocking and then loading off the top instead of trying to dominate is so relevant in this matchup. It can save you cards, it can just save you resources, and it can bail you out on those blind Azalea turns where like maybe you land into a buff and you need to go find a red in the ledger. You have tons of options. So I'm glad you saw that play line and used it in this match so that everyone else could see it as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So for the Oldhim matchup, I was just going to go through cards I take in and out of the deck. I've got the Azalea list here, and then Sean is going to be running the Michael Fang Oldhim that topped the Pro Tour. Congrats, Michael Fang. Fang. That's actually sick. Yeah, so we don't want to have too many cards actually in our deck because we want to make sure our ratios of pumps is pretty good on our turn-to-turn basis. So we end up taking out 3 red in the ledgers and 2 immobilizing shots. Those cards don't do anything versus Oldhim in the first place. And then if we take them out, it means we can see more buffs often. And then we take out the 3 Rabbles just because that's a Dromai card. And then we have the yellow Read the Glide Paths coming in, the red Release the Tensions, 1 Remorseless, the second Murkmire Grapnel, all 3 Battering Bolts, because if you can get an Oldhim stuck with defense reactions in hand, you can make them real uncomfortable. And then finally the Barbed Undertow, which is just a insanely strong effect versus heroes that mainly are just trying to pitch blues on their turn. So in total, this actually puts us to 62 cards. But the nice thing is, since we're running Remembrance, we have the flexibility to play out a bunch of our stuff to get damage through early, and then later in our Remembrance just targets a couple buffs and maybe a Murkmire if we don't have a Memorial Ground left. And then that's kind of the game. Lastly, of course, the most spicy spice, despite this being a Sandscour Greatbow list, Dreadbore is kind of necessary to beat Oldhim. Dreadbore says at all times there's no qualifier to it. Basically, the opponent can never use defense reactions from hand. The +1 is relevant on turns where we can't dominate something, but we still want to be annoying. So we can put a Battering Bolt to 7 and make them make difficult decisions. And then lastly, Crow's Nest is just because aim counters are pretty necessary on things like Barbed Undertow, and then they're really good on Deadeye and Fletcher Redtail and stuff like that. So our resource curve supports us being able to pitch for that. But this is the only matchup where we run Dreadbore and Crow's Nest as of right now. We might try it into Dromai, but so far it's been overperforming versus Oldhim specifically.
Yeah, and I think you'll see it as the matchup goes on, but as a more play pattern oriented description, is it makes me choose between Crown of Siege Shield and a defense reaction, right? That's effectively what Dreadbore reads, and that can jam Oldhim up more than just delaying his use of defense reactions, because his offense is less efficient that way as well. So I think to demonstrate the matchup, do you want me to go first here? Or to kind of like have you come back?
Yeah, sure.
Or you just want to?
Yeah, I think we can have Oldhim go first here.
All right. Yeah, that's how we tested this matchup with Oldhim going first all the time, because that's just always better for Oldhim.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how we got a feel for if we were doing well or not. So
for sure.
Yes, I will.
Oh, geez. So if I get pummeled, it doesn't actually matter because it means you end with no arsenal. So I think we're just sending 2 cards here. Spire and Deadeye are obviously more valuable than Infecting, so we get to do some filtering as well. I'm not really worried about having to lose attacks like this because they're blues also. I'll go ahead and draw up to 2. Generally, when we have no arsenal, we want to prioritize setting up a double arsenal instead of doing some disruption. But I do have the chance to find something good off Spire Sniping, so I'm going to go ahead and load this Spire Sniping face up and check top 2. And I don't technically know if this is Fatigue or mid-range Oldhim yet. It's probably mid-range just because I see a Debilitate. So there's a chance that it's correct to just do a little bit of setup here. And sending a Spire Sniping isn't really that crazy, and it also limits me to a single arsenal next turn. So I'm going to be a little bit weird and just set up a double arsenal of buffs here. So I'm going to put that, and then I'm going to go ahead and arsenal my Barbed Undertow, because that's going to be the card I'm most okay with blind Azaleaing on my next turn, and then I'm just going to pass it back and hope I don't get CNC pummeled.
Okay.
Oh, God. Immediate. We're never really playing around pummels specifically. I mean, if we do, it sucks pretty bad. But I think we just give 2 cards here. We're going to have to take 1 more off turn. They can't pummel us every single time. So, oh, my tunic's only supposed to be on 1. Between blocking with Deadeyes and Heat Seekers, I'm okay with giving 1 Heat Seeker here. I don't want to give both Deadeyes, though, because we want to keep track of our buffs as much as possible.
All right, I'll arsenal pass.
Okay. My tunic's going to go to 2. It is a little unfortunate that I had to block with the only arrow, because I would generally like to start by blinding Azaleaing my arsenal, which is an arrow. I have a chance to Memorial Ground dominate a Heat Seeker here, but I'm not sure how much value that really is. It would be with Inertia and Deadeye, and he would have to have exactly a D-React in Arsenal. So if I send Inertia, Deadeye, Heatseeker, that'd be for 11. If you Arsenaled exactly a red Staunch, it's pretty easy to block. But if it's anything other than that, it's pretty hard. So I'm going to take an early shot here just so I'm doing something. And if I do get a red Staunch out of this, it's a pretty good deal. I'm going to play this. Oh, I miscalculated my my pitch because I had to play the Memorial Grounds to do this. Let's see. Maybe that's not correct. I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to take one more setup turn. I'm just going to play this Barbed Undertow. It's for 5. Oldhim does have to respect it. Just because it's damage. I mean, if you have like a huge turn, then maybe you take some, but we'll do a little bit more setup here because our hand wasn't super super crazy together.
I'll take 2.
Sounds good. It's okay to pitch the Memorial Grounds because this game goes long anyways.
Oh,
is that an Endless Winter? Oh, a Spinal?
No, here's Spinal.
Okay.
Endless is arguably worse, for sure.
Endless is very insane. I hate playing against that card. Let's see. Potentially be very aggressive with my equipment usage here because I can tell your mid-range Oldhim at this point, and I can have a pretty strong turn if I do this. So
yeah, you see the red Glacial come out, and you can immediately make that decision, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Spinals and CNCs are less telling, but red Glacial is a big green light to start pushing damage.
Yeah. My issue here is I'm getting a little jammed up with buffs, but we're going to be aggressive. If I can get my inertias rolling like this, it's going to be pretty good. So I reveal a Lace with Inertia off of my Hornet Sting. I will take 3 to the Spinal. Blood Rot. It's going to go to the bottom. And then we're going to start trying to be as disruptive as possible from here on. So Tuna goes to 3. I'm going to Memorial Ground a Remorseless on top of the deck. I'm pretty happy with getting the Remorseless here because the combo with Dreadbore is going to make my arrow really hard to block. We're going to go ahead and Lace with the Inertia, and then Deadeye with 1 floating, and then we're going to Azalea into the Remorseless and shoot it. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No D-Rex from hand or arsenal. We aren't going to give our next turn into a card. We're not going to have an arsenal going to our next turn, but our opponent's going to have a Deadeye effect and an Inertia on them with a very hard to block arrow.
Yeah, this is tough. This is going to catch a very good attack. So I'm going to ground here. Since I know you don't have like a Murkmire or any damage prevention stoppage, I'm going to do that. Obviously, I'll throw out Shield since I've got the resource. I'm going to block here. That puts me at 5, and so I do have the Autumn's Touch, right? And I'm gonna use it for Oldhim, but notice how I think even if I had Iron Hide boots, that I couldn't possibly block it all out. Oh wait, no, that would actually be perfect. Iron Hide would put me.
Yeah, it would, but I'd be very happy with you losing all that equipment this early.
Exactly. So I'm gonna hold this back. And even if I did fully block it, I'm not really getting much out of it. Wait. Yeah, this is fine, I guess. I'm very displeased with the inertia, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna Oldhim react, and then that should be covering 7.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll give you the Deadeye info. Here's Macho and Chokeslam.
Okay, we'll actually kill the Chokeslam here because you could pitch that and use it later in the game, and I'm more concerned about that than raw damage. And then I get to leak 4 on you. We'll just remember the inertia effect, and I'll probably just end up taking 4 from a hammer.
That's still really good here because you're essentially playing to advantage for 2 turn cycles, so you're always happy to soak this, I think.
Yeah.
Are you gonna tick down just to confirm?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna end up. Yeah, this is gonna end up getting blocked actually because of the setup of my hand. It's okay to save life early. We do need a significant life buffer in the end game because our turns can get a little sketchy before we get our remembrance going back in. I'm gonna go ahead and pitch remembrance to Dreadbore in a Murkmire. And then with 1 floating, I'm going to Codex of Frailty. This one is going to be targeting Remorseless. The reason is that the Heat Seeker effect is irrelevant when I'm getting a Ponder off of Frailty. And then Barbed Undertow, obviously I can't get the aim counter off of Codex of Frailty. And then lastly, I can maybe chip 1 extra damage off Remorseless if it does end up hitting. So the Remorseless is going to go in, and then also I force you into arsenaling something as well. And if you arsenal something and want to cast it, you're going to have to also take a damage to Remorseless. So let me get my Ponder over here. I think Frailty was on the bottom of this stack. For you.
I'm gonna play like I know what that deck does, so I'm gonna grab CNC and I'm gonna discard a Staunch Response.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna shoot the Remorseless, and if you want to not take this damage, you can't pummel me. If you do take some damage and pummel me, then I also get a point of leak off of Remorseless.
I'll take 2.
So I'll Ponder and Arsenal Pass. It's not always correct to let the Oldhim get a card back like that off of Codex of Frailty. There's a lot of the time where I do end up actually just saving the Codex until the Oldhim has a card in Arsenal. But in that scenario, I wanted to keep kind of card advantage rolling.
And because you've given me armor and I know you're going to have a 6-card hand, I'm not blocking all the damage because I'm gonna float a resource off Tunic, and I know I have to apply pressure. I'm gonna take 1 off the Remorseless, but it's still worth it because I know this takes 2 cards from you.
Yeah. Okay, so Choke Slam comes in for 8. I need to block 5 in order to not get crushed, which is important. But I do not like blocking with buffs. I like actually casting them. So we're going to block for 6 and take 2 here.
Ooh, battering is nice here.
Yeah, battering will be good for me to get off of a Memorial Ground later as well. That's why it's actually never too horrible to block with arrows in this deck, because you get to get them back with your Memorial Grounds and Frailties and things like that. So I have the option of Read the Glide Path first before Azaleaing here. I do know that my opponent's arsenal is a CNC, so my buffs don't have to go as high to be relevant. So I'm actually just going to start by blind Azaleaing to look at my options. If I get a buff, then I can technically just poke with Murkmire and go next, but this is a much better scenario.
Please don't tell me you have Release Attention in hand.
I don't have Release, but I do have...
But you know what this is.
Yeah, I do know that that's not a D-React. I have to think about the Crow's Nest activation here. I can actually use Tunic Time this turn to keep an entire extra card, because this is a 0-cost arrow. And I do think going tall when I get the chance to leak is pretty relevant. So I'm going to use Tunic to aim counter this, and then I'm going to Seek and Destroy. That puts this to 8. No D-Reacts from hand. I know the card in Arsenal is not a D-React, so in order to block 8, it would be 3 plus Earth React is 5. You would have to give Crater Fist and Crown or something like that, or Rampart, Ironhide, and a Crown. So, or you can't even crown this actually. So I'm lying, and I'm pretty much just trolling by thinking about using my last buff. This is just going to be for 8 dominate, no prevention, no D-Reacts from hand.
Yeah, so this is huge here because it's what I mentioned. I think if we keep it in the actual edit of the video, which is Dreadbore now forces me to choose between being able to Crown Shield and D-React, independent of like if this is actually a D-React or not. Like that's the play pattern it prevents me from engaging in. And this severely jams me up because I'm for sure not going to be able to block all of this. And if I have valuable cards in hand, um, I'm going to have to discard them if I want to use the CNC. And so now what I'm deciding is, do I want to get one extra block off Rampart and look for another threat or not? So I think I am going to go ahead and play for the Spinal Crush. So we're going to go ahead and pitch this for shield. Yeah, this is very unfortunate.
Yeah, well, you think on your blocks, I also want to call out, it might have been correct for me to also just send my Read the Glide Path here, so I don't have to worry about blocking if he does Command and Conquer me, since I know that's what he has in Arsenal. I don't know if that would have been correct, because normally we can just be happy with blocking 2 cards on the CNC, but if he was repping Pummel, I would be in a lot more trouble with this decision.
Well, that's all I've got, and I don't really benefit much from giving armor here. So I'm going to go ahead and take 4.
Okay, sounds good to me. I will go ahead and Arsenal pass.
It's time to put Ironhide in this list, Michael, because this is a problem.
It's funny.
I really need to reach that 8 damage breakpoint. Actually, I feel like it's probably wiser for me, knowing how your list is running, right? The Death Dreadbore, is that I probably actually wanted to pitch an attack because I don't want to get stuck with this later. Kind of like how I discarded the Staunch to get the Command and Conquer.
Are you just gonna big brain discard the Fate Foreseen to Seek and Destroy?
100%. 100%.
That's crazy,
what's happening.
All right.
Yeah. Or I mean, I guess I could technically overpitch it, but
I mean, the only thing you're pitching to is Rampart, so
yeah.
Unless
no, I'm
you
saying
wanted
for
to crown.
CNC, I can.
Oh, I see what you're. Yeah, for sure.
Here. All right. I think I actually want the Fate Foreseen out of my deck, knowing how many D-Reacts are here. I don't want to get caught with it later.
That is very funny. We're gonna be blocking this.
You sure about that?
Unfortunately, it's gonna require having a really weird turn. If we do block it, I know that I Seek and Destroy you, so you're not gonna have a D-React in Arsenal. We're gonna end up blocking here. We're not really happy about it though, but I think we have an okay turn coming up. Whoopsies.
All right. I discarded Fate Foreseen, and it's back to you.
Sounds good. So we're going to take another moment of you not having an arsenal, and we're going to try to drill shot here. So I'm actually going to start with Read the Glide Path. I might have an arrow on top that I can just do instead. If not, I can drill shot you, and it's really good for me. So the top card is not an arrow. That's fine. And then we're going to go ahead and knock the Death Whistle. Search for drill, red. Sadly, we can't pay for the aim counter. Well, I guess we could. Let's see. Currently, it's coming in for 6, and you can give Crater and Rampart plus a card to block 6. I could just pay for the aim counter to force you to give 1 more equipment piece, which might be relevant. That's interesting. So we are always Azaleaing this in. I have a red Fletch in hand. I tend to value this pretty highly. Basically, if I pay for the aim counter to give this piercing, it means that for you to fully block this, you'd have to have like a prevention effect plus a card, or a card plus Crater Fist plus Iron Rot Legs. And then with piercing, it would basically cost you also to pitch a card for Rampart to go to 7. Or maybe Earth React. I'm not really convinced on it, so I think I'm just going to save the Fletch for another turn and try to keep setting up and rolling an Arsenal. So we're just going to send this for 6 Dominate.
Well, you are getting my armor here, which is... So this is still valuable, right? Because I guess I could say no blocks, which might be the smarter thing to do. But this game's getting a little difficult to deal with. I think if this has an inertia, I'm giving armor.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't, I'm gonna hope. I'm probably just gonna take 3 and hope that I can.
I mean, I'm always
I can
choosing
utilize this
Rampart if
better.
I hit. So you do get to keep the crater and the iron rot
Yeah,
legs.
that's clear.
But to me, it's a big win if I get your Rampart this early. But it's also a big win if I get your Crater Fist and legs. And it seems like you don't have the Earth React in hand to make it easier to block.
So, you didn't even need to dominate that.
I didn't even need to do it. It's actually hilarious. Dude, see, this is the type of stuff that Dreadbore does. Like, this is not an uncommon thing for Oldhim to happen. Yeah, it's a pretty lose-lose situation if you ask me from the Oldhim side here.
I get, I don't want to get like too big brained here. I do feel like you just have to give up Rampart potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming from knowing that your list has Endless Winters and stuff in it, that Crater Fist and Iron Rot legs might help you stop a Barbed Undertow later in the game, and I think that would be more relevant than having to be able to pitch for Rampart. So, 100%. Did you take the damage already? I just missed it.
I did.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we do still put the counter on Rampart. It just limits your decisions by a lot.
Yeah, well, here's where my Fabled comes into play.
The rare occasion of Oldhim being lower than Azalea.
It's not rare anymore, Jacob. We fixed that.
Not with the Dreadbore, at least.
All right, hammer for 3.
Hammer for 3 is going to get taken all day here.
All right, that's it. That's what I got.
Sounds good. Tunic's going to 2. I'm going to start with Azalea here. See what we get. We're literally him, I guess. So I'm going to pay for the aim counter. Oh no, paying for the aim counter is actually irrelevant.
No Deadeye boss?
That's fine. We're pogging extra because there's a release here.
Oh my god.
No! And then actually, this is a tip. This is like a good thing to watch out for. I have an extra resource to load my battering bolt face up here. Face up cards in Arsenal are much better than face down a lot of the time. It doesn't really matter that I'm giving my opponent information. This just gives you more chances to blind Azalea the card you care about. Like next turn, if I wanted to blind Azalea the face down card, or the what am I trying to say? If I wanted to blind Azalea the face up card and keep the battering bolt, I wouldn't be able to if the battering bolt was face down. So I think this is probably correct to face up the battering bolt here before shooting this. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, dominate, no D-reacts ever at all, not even once.
Yeah, this is really oppressive into lists that aren't playing prevention effects or aren't leaning super heavily into like pummels, because this list only has 2 in it, I believe, and so the odds of like a CNC pummel lining up are really low, and I really wanted to see that in those first few turn cycles. So now I'm very uncomfortable. I have a red staunch in hand that I can't play, and I have a red staunch. So I'm locked out of these 2 cards that would be really valuable here, and I can only block with a single one of these. And so what you really don't want to see, like, Jacob does really well here if I pitch this staunch to crown, because what that means is that there are very low odds of me having a D-react in Arsenal next turn. Just because, and I'm also stacking them together so that on second cycle I can get jammed with them. So knowing how your deck plays, Jacob, I'm not going to take the bait to like use this as a cycle to try to prevent more damage, and I know that I have to try to actually get this in Arsenal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned about hammers. I'm going to see if hopefully I can get an ice card into hand off of this Crown of Seeds. Unfortunately, that's not how it goes for me.
Yeah, Oldhim lists these days are on very low amounts of earth and ice cards, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, like, I suppose it's a delicate balance, but
yeah,
this is really the best I have, and I'm not going to be very happy on the next turn, so...
So you're
There's
ending
that.
up taking 7 here, and I will
Yeah.
give you a Blood Rot, and I will face up a card. It is a Lace with Inertia, which is sick.
Okay. So normally, I think Oldhim wants to pitch for Blood Rot here, but because oh no, never mind. I am pitching for Blood Rot. You cannot Tunic time a Spinal Crush off of a single blue. Unfortunately. So I'm gonna pay for Blood Rot, Arsenal, and pass here.
That is very crazy. Tunic to 3. So this turn has a lot of play lines. I would like to guarantee a dominate, but it's just not possible on this turn. And I almost want to bottom my inertia because battering bolt is fine to just poke through. But let's see. I can still send, if I bottom my battering bolt and get a buff, my Remorseless is coming in for 14, which is really not comfortable to block unless they have a direct in Arsenal. There's a chance that I could like kind of get a read that it is a direct in Arsenal because you just Arsenal passed. But I don't know if that's just because I heard you saying it was a direct. Without like trying to dive too deep into the lines, I'm pretty safe just blind Azaleaing, to be honest. Because I can also send a Remorseless from hand. We blind Azalea into a Seek and Destroy, which means that we're actually going to be able to sandbag one of my Seek effects. I'm going to play Lace with Inertia, premeditate.
Oh.
And then I'm going to load a Remorseless with a count with a +1 and shoot it.
That's actually so brutal. How much is it? That's for 11.
This is actually 12 because of the Dreadbore buff.
So that actually gets directly over my defense. And if I want to stop this, I have to give you armor, which I will actually, because I just think the value of like knowing I have this red staunch waiting is good.
Yeah.
But not being able to bail myself out with Crown of Seeds, and since you got my Rampart, it actually sucks. And if I stopped you from getting my Rampart, all I would have is one Crater Fist block. So like all of this is like a irrelevant discussion. I'm actually very happy that I gave Rampart in this case.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm just generally inefficient for getting rid of the D-React that's waiting in my arsenal. So we're gonna move back to you.
Yeah. So I did end up arsenaling the Remembrance here.
Jacob is the rememberer in our team.
Yeah, so I did end up arsenaling this Remembrance. I wanted to call out your prime targets for Remembrance are exactly your release attentions. If they're still in the deck and you really got to cast that because you need to like arsenal something else, then your next best targets are Murkmires and Remorseless. But generally, you want to be leaning towards getting back buffs anyways, because a Dominate Arrow for 5 a bunch of times is just not going to get you there. So I'm going to save the Remorseless for now. There's still 34 cards in the deck, and I've only used one release attention. So I'm pretty much chilling on casting it for now. There's plenty of time to cast it next time I see it. So we have another turn where we didn't find a search effect like Knock or Memorial Ground. That's fine because we have a Codex in hand to get back something if we want to. We're going to go ahead and start with Blind Azaleaing as per tradition. That is interesting. This is going to get saved for next turn, and we're going to end up having to be a little bit wasteful on buffs, I think. Let me see if that's actually the case. Here's what we're gonna take a L on the Codex of Frailty, I think, because I want to save my buffs in hand. I mean, we could go really tall. We could send something for +9 and get a Ponder token. I'm just worried here about not drawing into buffs on my next turn.
Is shooting Spire for 6 with an inertia good enough here?
Oh, and we just saved the Codex of Frailty as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because
maybe even with the Blood Rot and we arsenal the Seek.
It's not if I have CNC Pummel in hand, I suppose. Or any kind of like Pummel full grip, because I would probably just empty. But I maybe you still hold back one of these laces. Maybe you go to 9 actually. Like is that better? Because if
Yeah,
I do take this, I get inertia and it's 11 damage.
yeah.
And
I
then
think
this
this
way you
is
guarantee Murkmire
yeah.
is going to completely obliterate me.
I think this is good. I sometimes I tunnel vision on using the Codex of Frailties as soon as I see them, but like I was just saying about Remembrance, it's okay to save those. This Spire actually is even for 10, which is better because of the Dreadbore buff. So
Cracked.
yeah, we're gonna actually. I think this is probably correct. I like this play for sure.
It's gonna be a red staunch for 10, but that's hella resources here for you to set up.
Hmm.
And like there's no way I can CNC pummel this without taking at least what, 7 of it?
Yeah, you would have had to take the Blood Rot and the Inertia, and that would be quite bad for you.
Yep. It's gonna be a hammer for 4 here.
All right. Interesting. So I am now faced with whether I want to knock or memorial something, and um, what my purpose in this point of the game is. So there's some consideration to just get the biggest damage thing and pair it with my Seek and Destroy to keep you off of an arsenal. That could be probably not biggest damage, but Remorseless is most likely to force the damage through. I could send a Remorseless for 11, dominated with a Blood Rot and Seek and Destroy effect, and I'm pretty happy with that. So doing that on my turn requires, let's see, what does it require? I think I am going to take this because, yeah, if I take this, I will be ending with a card in Arsenal and forcing an Inertia. So we're going to take 4 here, and we're going to go into our turn. We also get to save Tunic time. I could have blocked 3 there and used Tunic to shoot it, but to be honest, I'd rather use Tunic as a get out of jail free card on a later turn, when this turn I can just, take 3 damage. It's not that big of a deal in the current state of the game. So Seek and Destroy, Blood Rot, Memorial Ground is going to get me my Remorseless to be extra annoying on blocking. And then we're going to Azalea the Remorseless in. And we are going to shoot our Remorseless. Aim counter effect doesn't really matter on this, so we don't have to pay for it. This is 11, no directs from hand or arsenal, and 2 really good on hits. This is
Bruh.
copium.
Bro, look at this. Look at this.
Oh no.
It's so bad.
People, there's gonna be
and the
some haters in the
secret
comments saying the Oldhim low rolled, but like, when have you
No.
ever seen an Oldhim low roll by drawing too many D-reacts? That's actually a high roll.
The only way Oldhim has a chance into our list is if they're like hyper aggro, playing a ton of disruption,
Yeah.
and they get a little bit lucky on like catching us at a bad time with the CNC pummel.
Yeah.
Or if they're playing like prevention effects and life gain, and we mess up. So the fact that this is kind of like, I think this obviously this list is insane, but I think particularly this Oldhim list is just not what we tuned for, and I think we're actually over tuned to deal with this.
Yeah, interestingly, with the Michael Fang list, he's not running any prevention effects. So while our Murkmires lose value, our Remorseless and Release Attention just get that much more insane. So there are most of the Oldhim, or all 3 of the Oldhim lists I faced in the calling were all on Oasis Respite, and some of them were also on Peace of Mind. So it's just an interesting difference with the lists. But oh my god, there's so many defense reactions.
I can't even sandbag to pay for the Blood Rot, right? Like I'm just gonna be discarding Sink Below, taking 3, then taking 2 to Blood Rot.
You can't play this, by the way, from Arsenal.
That was from Arsenal.
I thought you were just messing around.
Oh, no, Remorseless? No, I was trolling, dude. No, I wasn't. Oh, I didn't. What did I do to deserve this?
Why did I do
this? Dude, I told my locals not to play it because I was like, guys, locals won't be fun if we play this. This is cancer.
Look at this. You guys thought that Staunch was the enemy. Now Staunch is the victim.
All right. Now, okay. Yeah, I'm going to crown. This is gonna go like that. Now I can't even play a D-react, so like my prevention ceiling is 6 because I can play no D-reacts and I have to draw into an Earth card and be able to pitch it for Old Boy. Dude, this is brutal. Yeah, that's what's happening, I
Okay,
guess.
so 4 to my 11, you're going to take 7 and get a Blood Rod again. And I will Arsenal pass happily.
Dude, I'm so mad. And then I'm gonna discard 2 D-reacts if I pay for this Blood Rot, which I am going to do. So here's my sink. And here's dude, people are gonna think I'm so bad at this game.
Yeah, the turns are really lining up weirdly
this-
on your side, but I don't know what other decisions you really have available to you.
Yeah, I've been doing my best, I promise.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Azalea. If we hit an arrow, that's amazing. If we don't, we have a Frailty in hand. We hit an arrow, so sick, nasty. We check top 2. It's not really relevant in the Dreadbore matchup when you Azalea into this, but since I have a Ponder token, it actually is. So I lied, and I'm going to be putting the red on top and the blue on second because I would like the blue to be in hand. This is dominated. The aim counter does not matter. And let's see, we're just going to rip it.
So you're kind of steamrolling. Oh, you're pitching that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We're
so the only way I can like ever block this entire I would need 3 red Oasis Respites and a blue pitch to be able to like block this out of hand. Said that's for 13.
Yeah. I would Tunic time this to save the Codex of Frailty, but I'm getting a Ponder, so it's kind of just redundant.
Yeah, and have you played Remembrance yet?
No, I haven't. It's like the bottom 10 cards of my deck right now.
You're gaming, dude. You haven't even played it, and I think. Oh, yeah, this is all 3 of them though, but that's still good.
So there is a chance that I sandbag the release here also because this is just confirmed hitting, but there's a lot of value in just taking your damage when you can get it versus Oldhim. So
I'm at 8.
Yeah, also he's on 8s. But
oh my. I'm literally gonna Crater Fist here because I'm like worried I'm not gonna be able to use it twice and get value out of it because the best I have here is block 5 taking wait no that's 8.
lethal.
I literally have to block with Tunic here because there's nothing else that I can do. And I go to 1. That's crazy.
So we're gonna Ponder, draw a card, and pass.
Yeah. I promise, guys, I'm not putting on a show to say this list is good. I just think this Oldhim list isn't ready for the Dreadbore side of things. So here's a C&C.
Okay. This is actually insane and hilarious, but I have a Spire Sniping in hand, and I want it to get hit by the CNC. So here you go.
Oh yeah, it was all according to your plan. Hold on, I still have 1 Crater Fist block. All hope is not lost.
I get to load a Spire Sniping from hand and still have the chance to Azalea into something. So let's see what we have. It is an Eye of Ophidia and a Memorial Ground. That is epic. I think what we're going to do is just...
Do you load Memorial? Do you just like put Memorial in and set up at this point?
No, I'm going to send damage because you're on 1, and I can save 1 buff in Arsenal for next turn so that I can save 1 buff, and then my Memorial Ground will help me get over the top on my next turn. The question is, do I want to bottom the Eye of Ophidia just so that I can make sure I can load an arrow with Memorial Ground? And ironically, I think the answer is yes. I need to load an arrow so that I can bottom it for whatever I Memorial Ground. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Oh no, I'm totally trolling. You can't even do that with Spire Sniping. Yeah, these just go back on top in this order. Ignore me. I'm gonna pay. I'm not gonna pay because I actually want to. Well, let's see. 7. Yeah, we'll just send the Fletch, honestly. So this is 7. There's no aim counter, but 7 is harder to block than 6, or at least I get a Crater Fist.
Can't play it.
Can't play from hand.
Can't,
Once
can't
again,
play it.
everybody, if you did forget by now, Dreadbore is active at all
And like,
times.
dude, there's like no way I send endless. Like I can do this,
Yeah.
and then I'm still gonna be like I guess I have to over pitch.
Oh, you can ice react me here. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I can. That's a good call.
All
I'm
hope
not
is
used to
not
having.
lost.
Oh, I probably should have done that. I will admit to my misplay. I should have probably ice react you earlier when I
Yeah.
had a channel lake in hand. All right, so
Okay, this is at least
either way,
blocked.
yeah. If I ice react, I can't send hammer, but I still think that's healthier here. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna over pitch for ice react.
Yeah, I think ice reacting here is pretty correct.
100%. Arsenal staunch.
All right. The one weakness of this deck is we cannot load off the top when we draw a no arrow hand. This is unfortunate. We don't really have a way to get a card into Arsenal either.
Wait, what happened to Ophidia?
It's here,
but
I can't load off the top.
Oh, yeah, you can't
because of
even
no
like
Great Bow.
memorial load.
Yeah.
Cringe, dude.
So we're going to end up still. Another interesting thing about Dreadbore and Great Bow is actually that they're a May. Actually, this is the case with all arrow or all bows, but I can pitch into Dreadbore without actually having an arrow in hand. So I'm gonna pitch into Dreadbore just to opt 2. I need to make sure I get an arrow in my next turn. So we're bottoming both of these. And then sadly, we are going to be arsenaling and passing. So we don't even get to set up double arsenal here. If you have some sick disruption, I'm in a little bit of trouble, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Here's Rouse.
Oh no.
Showing Autumn's Touch and Macho Grande.
Okay, yeah, we're taking 7.
And then here is Hammer.
And we are definitely taking 4.
Okay. That's all it took. The game now.
Game was close. You got me to 10. All right. Let's see. We can put a Remorseless to 12, and I think that should do it. So our search here for Memorial Ground is a Remorseless. We've seen by now that you're running like an obscene amount of defense reactions, and we haven't seen an Oasis. But there could be a chance to get Murkmire here if you like watch your opponent pitch stack and there's Oases around or something like that. But we'll also pay for the aim counter off of the Azalea because we have a Fletch, which can potentially affect your, well, if you have to block with a red. Pay for Deadeye, and then pay for Remorseless. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, dominate, no directs at all.
Alright, so the best I can do here is...
Still no directs from Arsenal.
Wait, oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, I definitely did.
It's funny. It's funny seeing you play the Oldhim side of this, because when you play the Azalea side, you pog so hard, and Remorseless is like your favorite card ever. But playing the Oldhim side of this is so hard. It's crazy.
This is terrible. With no like additional prevention effects in the deck, I think it's impossible, or I'm just trying to juice you. Yeah. But frankly, like I think even aggro Oldhim would struggle trading blows with this.
Yeah, the thing with like aggro Oldhim is tall. Yeah, I go tall and they have less defense reactions, and if they miss, like aggro Oldhim still misses. Aggro Oldhim still draws hands where it's like 2 blue Macho Grandes and a blue random other card, and they just have to hammer or send a Macho for 8. And at that point in time, I dominate a Barbed Undertow, and they end up having like discard 3 cards from their hand because of Barbed being so sick against Guardians. I don't think I played one Oldhim in the calling who was on a Nothos, and that was the most aggressive version I faced out of the 3. I did eke out the win versus them. Drill Shot was, of course, still pretty value there because I got a counter on one of their other equipment pieces. But yeah, I think this deck is very good into all versions of Oldhim, to be honest.
It's definitely balanced enough. I agree.
Hmm.
I think you do struggle with the mid-range lists that have prevention effects, but it's
Hmm.
certainly 50-50, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I also want to call out you play differently versus the different versions of Oldhim here. If this is a fatigue Oldhim, like the first turn of the game where when I went Azalea Arsenal Pass and just set up my double Arsenal and got CNC'd. If this is a fatigue Oldhim, I don't get CNC'd there probably, or even if I do, it's fine. And then later on in the game, I can take even more chances to double Arsenal Pass instead of setting up like some non-dominated arrows, because versus mid-range Oldhims, you have to keep pressure because you really don't want to get CNC'd or spinaled that often. And another reason I use the equipment so early is because you don't want to lose very much momentum versus mid-range Oldhim. And my life buffer was so high that I had maybe like one or two turns where I could block out and take back the game if he did end up with a disruptive turn and I had like a stumble or something. So yeah, hopefully, I think this is going to look a little bit like a steamroll. But if you guys play it for yourself, you'll definitely see the Oldhims are going to be squirming against this build. The decisions that they're presented with are very difficult if you line your stuff up correctly. Remorseless is your best friend in this matchup. If they're on prevention effects, Murkmire is just as good. Um, so just keep those things in mind. The biggest piece of this deck is just knowing what to search at each point in time and knowing when to set up and knowing when to like blow your entire set of your buffs. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this matchup. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching Azalea beat Oldhim. This is going to be cut in after the Oldhim gameplay. We're going to put them together, but hopefully you guys enjoyed our Lexi game and our Oldhim game. I think these are both pretty good showcases of what the deck can do, but there's a lot. You can go really deep on this deck. It's crazy. Like different types of things. Like in the Oldhim game, I didn't really use Remembrance to set up something crazy, but Remembrance is an insane tool because you can actually purposely go to a very low deck size and shuffle back in two releases and a Murkmire to guarantee yourself to get the kill off of the next hand or two, because if you don't draw it on this hand, you just Arsenal and go to your next hand. But that's a pretty deep play line you can get if you need to finish the game versus Oldhim. And then there's just a bunch of random stuff that you pick up over the course of playing this game a bunch. Or playing, well, that's true, but also playing this deck specifically. So don't beat yourself up if it's a little bit weird or hard to pilot in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I would just like to say one thing about the Oldhim matchup that I didn't think we get to cover is the opportunity to use Codex of Frailty as 1/3 of a Remembrance.
Yeah.
And do something else for your offense that turn. So sometimes, so the reason we're able to run 2 Murkmires specifically for the Oldhim matchup instead of 3 and be confident we can win is, as Jacob said, because of the Remembrance, because of the memorials, but also because of Codex of Frailty. So if I know I've got 2 in there and I'm still setting up, I can Codex of Frailty I'm just going to call this a Murkmire. Mm-hmm. And then I can Azalea it down, set up a double Arsenal because I'll be Ponder drawing. But also now I know that when I draw into a knock, I'll be able to access Murkmire, and when I draw into a Memorial, I'll be able to access Murkmire no matter what.
Yeah, that actually, I'm glad you called that out because I did that a couple times in the tournament as well. Using Codex to just put anything in your arsenal to recur is very strong. A lot of the times you'll find yourself on one of the best turns is when you have like one buff, a Memorial, and Codex. Basically, you play the buff, you Memorial the arrow you want to shoot, and then you Codex whatever you want to recur, and then the card you Codex in actually gets bottomed to your red in the ledger, and then you get a Ponder and your red in the ledger is coming in for 8 off of 3 cards, and it's really like 2 cards. So using your Codex of Frailty, since Memorial Ground it can just sit there on the top while after or before you cast the Codex of Frailty, is a really sick play line with this deck.
Yeah. The best 3-card hand in this deck is Lace with Inertia, Memorial Frailty, and Tunic.
Yeah.
Because then you just get a red in the ledger for 8 Dom Inertia, and then you're plussing a card. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's bonkers. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching these games. Maybe we'll try to get some games in, but me and Sean have been jamming this deck for a while. We rushed through and got the the deck tag recorded and we got these games recorded, so we might take a couple days to take a break. But if you guys really like this deck and you want to see some other matchups, let us know in the comments below, and we'll see if we can put some videos together for that. But other than that, like and subscribe if you appreciate the content, and we'll see all you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.